All right, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, must be sweating bullets because Donald Trump was just asked on Air Force One if he plans to endorse Vance ahead of the 2028 primaries or if his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, could be a viable contender. Not only does Trump not give a straightforward answer, but he definitely does not endorse J.D. Vance, and he actually spends more time praising Marco Rubio than he does even talking about Vance. He goes, yeah, Rubio did do a great job. Maybe I shouldn't make the decision yet. And this should have J.D. Vance sweating bullets. In fact, not long after Donald Trump said this on Air Force One, J.D. Vance was out there on Fox News trying to get people to like him and miserably failing. We're going to break this all down. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed if you appreciate the work that independent media does. It genuinely means a lot. So let's back up a few days. This viral video of J.D. Vance shows how not ready he is for higher office. The fact that he's already the vice president is absurd, but this breaking news video shows an out-of-breath J.D. Vance having zero clue if he's supposed to vote yes or no to break a Senate tie. He almost blows it and votes the wrong way in favor of the Democrats. There is literally nothing this administration can do that is competent, points out Call to Activism. You can look at Kash Patel lying under oath about Jeffrey Epstein not trafficking anybody else. You can look at Pam Bondi's utter incompetence every single time she steps in front of the camera. What about Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem can't do anything right. What about Greg Bovino, who got removed from Minneapolis? What about Stephen Miller? I mean, this administration just oozes incompetency, and it's because it's modeled in a top-down manner off of Donald Trump. Watch this clip of J.D. Vance confused about how he's supposed to vote. This is supposed to be our next president? Is he going to accidentally vote the wrong direction when we're trying to get health care or go to war? What?
50, the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided. The Vice President votes.
How?
Affirmative, and the point of order is sustained. Gotta make sure.
Had to make sure. I'm pretty sure you didn't know in the first place. Look at this is a 50-50 vote right here. J.D. Vance could have quite literally blown it with a razor-thin margin. They have no room for error, and J.D. Vance almost made an error, which honestly only bolsters the theory that Donald Trump isn't very confident in him. Before I play you this clip of Trump talking about Rubio versus Vance, let me show you the interview that J.D. Vance is doing quite literally right now on Fox News. He's talking about Europe sabotaging themselves. He's telling lies about ICE and immigration, and we will debunk all of this. Let's start with Europe.
Rubio, Secretary of State, was there.
Oof. Brutal. She immediately asks him about Marco Rubio. I didn't even realize this happens. Watch.
Rubio, Secretary of State, was there, gave a speech that had a lot of similar underpinnings to it,
Sure.
but they were applauding, and they thought it was great. So what happened with that? Why is that the outcome?
Well, I heard somebody say that I was the bad cop so that Marco could be a good cop.
Okay.
I mean, he gave a great speech, but he drove home, I think, a very important point that the Europeans have largely forgotten, or at least had largely forgotten over the past year, is that the reason why the president or Marco or me talk about borders, the reason why we talk about them spending more on their own security, the reason that we talk about them more becoming a vibrant economy again, is that we want Europe to thrive and we want Europe to succeed. The problem that we have with Europe is not that we don't like Europe, even though you hear that from the European press. It's not that we don't respect our allies. It's that they are doing a lot of things to sabotage themselves. We would like that to stop. We would like them.
All right, there's a lot to debunk here. First of all, the vibe is like when somebody asks you about your ex and their new partner, and you're kind of uncomfortable. Like, yeah. I mean, they gave a great speech. They're doing really well. J.D. Vance in this clip is kind of uncomfortable when Marco Rubio is brought up, and then he tries to loop himself in with Marco Rubio. He's like, yeah, me and Marco, we're all making the same point here. Dude, honestly, Marco Rubio is a more talented politician than J.D. Vance will ever be. I'm not saying that out of admiration for Marco Rubio. I'm saying that out of disdain for J.D. Vance, who is a weak interlocutor. At least I've seen Marco Rubio be principled once or twice, and at least I've seen Marco Rubio stand up for Ukraine. J.D. Vance has none of that. He's an absolute slimeball. He then says, Europe is doing a lot of things to sabotage themselves. I find this type of rhetoric to be absolutely sickening when Eastern Europe and all of Europe has had the authoritarian threat of Russia looming over their shoulder, breathing down their neck for years and years and years, for decades. Europe is trying to fend off an actual dictator who is invading Ukraine. and who would invade all of Europe if he had the chance. The idea that Europe is sabotaging themselves, if you want to criticize Europe, if you have criticisms, that's fine. What I don't like is that J.D. Vance spends 10 times more of his energy criticizing Europe and criticizing our allies, and he spends approximately 0% of that energy going after Vladimir Putin, the actual threat. You know who he got this off of? Trump. He wants to attack allies and play it soft on Putin, like Trump does. Here's Trump similarly getting asked about Marco Rubio's speech. I guess this was a very phenomenal speech for Republicans. They are all really loving what Marco Rubio said over in Munich. And J.D. Vance is kind of getting the cold shoulder. It's kind of brutal. It's like he's a sibling that's less talented.
Mr. President, Marco Rubio received really positive reviews in Munich. Is there a scenario in which you would support him at the top of the ticket in 28?
Something I don't have to worry about now. I've got 3 years to go, so it's something I don't have to worry. JD's fantastic and Marco's, they're both fantastic. I think Marco did a great job in Munich.
They're both fantastic. It's kind of brutal, no? You'd think that he would throw his support behind the person that he chose. This is the third or fourth time he's refused to do this. Donald Trump has once again refused to endorse Vice President J.D. Vance as his preferred successor while he gushed about Marco Rubio. This is the second time he's done it just over the past 2 weeks. And remember, he's done this multiple times before. He sidesteps a firm commitment and instead opts to praise Marco Rubio. Here's J.D. Vance then getting asked, hey, Democrats are winning congressional vote preference by 6 points. It seems like we're underwater. Let's see what J.D. Vance has to say for this.
I want to just put up a poll. This shows congressional vote preference. This was at the end of January, so just a few weeks ago. Of all voters, Democratic candidate preference at 52, GOP candidate at 46. We've got a long way to go, but obviously that number would not be good for the majority.
That would not be good. I will say, as much as we love Fox News, we always think Fox News has the worst polling. Me and the president agree on that. I'm sorry.
I can show you other ones that are very similar, but since they're ours, I show ours.
But I genuinely can't handle this level of delusion. J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and all Republicans immediately try to character assassinate, which is where you attack the character of the network or the polling station. Listen, I hate Fox News as well, but every single poll that is coming out shows very, very similar numbers for the Republican Party, and they're all unfavorable. The thing with Fox News polling, ironically, is that it's actually one of the strongest divisions they have. The polling that Fox News does is entirely separate from what commentators like Jesse Waters do on a daily basis. So the polling that they do has actually been historically accurate, and it's pissed off Trump many times throughout the years. If you remember, he always attacks Fox News polling because the polling division doesn't just blatantly lie for him. They have no incentive to fudge numbers because that would give Republicans a false sense of security. So the polling division is just straight up with it. You know who is not straight up? Is J.D. Vance, who says that they're only deporting violent criminals when that is not true. 70% of the people who have been deported have had no criminal record.
Enforcement. What we've consistently said is that we want to deport violent criminals, people who came in under the Biden administration illegally, and get them out of our country so that Americans' wages can go up, so that American streets can be safer. Tom's been an important part of that, but of course, Kristi Noem's been an important part of that. Our DHS Secretary, Stephen Miller, at the White House has been an important part of that. Here's the thing, Martha, where you've had cooperation between the state, the local, and the federal government, whether it's a blue city like Memphis or a red city in a small town in the middle of Ohio, you have great cooperation and you don't have the chaos. We're able to get illegal aliens out of our country, and we're able to do it in an orderly way. Where you have Democrats refusing to cooperate, places like Minneapolis, places like Los Angeles, the entire immigration enforcement thing, it becomes more chaotic. It becomes harder to get the worst people out of our country. It's a nightmare for the American people. But
it is a nightmare for the American people, but it's because they're not targeting the worst of the worst. We saw repeated videos in Minneapolis, Chicago, where I'm from, many, many cities in blue areas and even red areas where ICE was targeting citizens, shooting citizens, pulling abuelas to the ground. They cracked the rib of a 79-year-old. They shot a woman 5 times in Chicago, then lied about it. They ripped someone out of their car, cut their seatbelt off, and broke their window, and the woman ended up being a U.S. citizen on her way to a doctor's appointment. Like, what the absolute hell is J.D. Vance saying here? Also, the Trump administration claims they've deported 2 million people thus far. They say that about half of it's from deportations and the other half is from self-deportations. Yet since Trump has taken office, unemployment has gone up. One more time, unemployment has gone up since Trump has taken office. So how do you square those two things? How can you say in one breath that deporting people creates jobs, but then on the other hand, you say we are deporting people and we have more unemployed Americans. More Americans are losing their jobs. No coherence in J.D. Vance's policy there. Then J.D. Vance is asked, surely, as the vice president, you would want to be president, essentially in reference to his 2028 potential run.
As vice president, you'd like to be president.
Well, look, I think, again, I'm going to try to do as good of a job as I can right now.
Oof, this is complete servitude. You want to know how I read this? J.D. Vance follows Donald Trump's lead on every single thing. That's not a secret. It's not controversial. J.D. Vance just follows Donald Trump's lead. Trump is currently throwing J.D. Vance under the bus and gushing over Marco Rubio because he probably thinks he loses leverage if he endorses somebody out this early. So because of that, J.D. Vance himself is forced to take what we call the cuck position, and he himself is going, wait a minute, yeah, maybe I won't run. Who knows? It's kind of Trump's decision at this point. So it's just ridiculous coming from the VP. I mean, here he talks about Obama. He says the president is very clearly not Barack Obama. Yeah, we can tell, buddy.
Well, I think the president will do what he thinks is in the best interest of the American people. I think he's shown very clearly that he is not Barack Obama. He takes a much different approach to America's national security.
Yeah, he's selling us out on a daily basis. Obama didn't have hashtag Obama coin or Michelle coin. There is a Trump coin and a Melania coin that other countries can invest in.
And he's much more willing to act aggressively to defend America's national security. But the president...
That might be true. I mean, Trump does act more aggressively, but like an aggressive effing asshole who only targets our allies and is soft on our enemies.
The United States is very much trying to find a solution here, whether it's through diplomatic options or through another option that means that the Iranians cannot have a nuclear weapon. That has always been the main focus. If you go back to the campaign that he ran in 2015, the Republican primary campaign that he won, he said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I think it's very important for the American people to appreciate it's one of the most hostile and also one of the most irrational regimes in the world. You can't have people like that have the most dangerous weapon known to man. It would be awful for our security. It would be awful for the future of our children. That is the goal of the President of the United States, and he's got a lot of options and a lot of tools to make sure that doesn't happen.
We can't be serious here. We can't be serious. There was a whole debate that I was having, we were all having with conservatives about 6 months back now, about whether Iran's nuclear capabilities were done for. Every conservative was claiming that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance had ended their ability to do this. Now, what we see is them thinking they have to maybe strike again for the same reason. In fact, Donald Trump has gotten 38,000 Iranians killed this year so far. He sent out a tweet saying that he will support the protesters, he will back them, and he will make sure to use force if this regime in Iran kills anybody. Well, protesters took his signal, they went out to the streets, and the regime killed 38,000 Iranians. Donald Trump decided to do nothing. He decided to do nothing, therefore pulling the rug on everybody who believed him. Just despicable, disgusting, and I'm going to leave it there. If you appreciate these videos, drop a like and subscribe. I will see you all in the next one, and peace out.